Hi, class. Welcome to week 2, and it has been a crazy one after our holiday on Monday and then all of our downtime for the weather. I hope that everybody is warm and well and safe today going into the weekend. And finishing week 2, and in many cases, maybe scrambling to do so, which I totally understand. So let's dig into what you should be wrapping up this weekend if you hadn't had a chance to get started already, for any number of variety of reasons tied to that downtime. So for week 2, you should be well in your textbook at this point. I had gotten a couple of emails and exchanged some messages back and forth with folks trying to get into your textbook. I'm hoping at this point, I haven't gotten any more of those messages, so I'm hoping at this point that everybody is in their textbook. If that means that you hadn't attempted to get into your textbook yet, then let's make sure that we're doing that so that I can answer any questions for you before we have a test pop up, so that you can make sure that you are getting through your textbook reading. You do have an attendance policy quiz. I spoke super briefly about our attendance policy in our first video. But basically for an 8-week class, you are limited to 2 attendance related assignments. On the third one, that is when we would start having some conversations about whether you need to be removed from a class for non-attendance, or whether there's maybe some extenuating circumstances going on that we need to discuss. The number of absences always depends on the class. So the actual rule of thumb is 20%. You're allowed to miss 20% of class with no penalty. And so it's always a question of, is it an 8-week class? Is it a 16-week class? Does it meet once a week, twice a week? All that kind of stuff. So 20% is that threshold, but you're going to read about all of the attendance policy information and then take the quiz attached to that information at the end. 2 other assignments that you've got coming up. So your master calendar, which is your opportunity to, we're going to talk about money budgeting later, but right in this moment, we're talking about budgeting time. So how do all of your classes combined, not just College 105, but all of your classes, what time investment are those classes requiring of you right now for this semester? So the goal is to take all of your course calendars, which are always under that Start Here module in your classes, and dump them onto one master calendar. I had one question about, what if I have many master classes that haven't started yet? Certainly, of course, that means that you wouldn't have anything to list there because you don't have that course calendar, but you can put on the calendar, for example, Math 101 starts on such and such a day, which is an indicator to me that, you have extra classes, but they haven't started yet. You're not just disregarding part of the assignment. So, yes, this is an assignment for a grade in this class, but I hope that you put the time and energy into it to make it a resource that will be helpful for you over the next several weeks. And then that is a habit and a tool that you can use every semester so that you can figure out on a weekly basis, okay, this is how much time I need to make sure that I'm able to give to my classes to be successful. Certainly it varies from week to week, but how many times have you logged in, especially if you're not a first semester student, but how many times have you logged in and been like, oh my gosh, that was way more work than I thought it was, and I have not made time for this, especially if you are, any type of employee, family member, anything where maybe you are saving your schoolwork until the weekend. That's totally fine, but maybe starting at 10 o'clock on Sunday is a little bit of a gamble. That's a little bit of a risk. And so by doing something like this master calendar exercise, it lets you know if that is indeed doable in a given week, or whether you need to make sure that you are, setting up time ahead of time to do everything that needs to be done. Maybe you need to, set aside an hour during the week for reading, or you have a discussion board post that's due midweek and you got to make sure that you remember to do the post and all that kind of good stuff. So as much as you put into the master calendar, I think you'll get back out of it. And again, it's a tool and a habit that you can work to develop beyond the semester and beyond this specific assignment requirement for this class. You're also going to be getting started with your PAR assignments. So PAR, I told you in our week 1 video that the point of College 105 is to help you learn how to be a successful college student. And the PAR acronym and PAR assignments in this course are a huge part of that. So P stands for professor, A stands for advisor, R stands for registration. Really, ultimately, we're talking about kind of a loop of communication that needs to be happening on a regular basis for you to be successful. So you need to learn how to communicate with your instructors and do that well. You need to learn how to communicate with your advisors. Give them good information that is relevant, about you to help them know how to best help you in terms of picking classes, staying on track with your program of study, and all that kind of good stuff. And then finally, the R is going to be registration, and it'll be an assignment in this class that you will actually end up registering for your next semester of classes. So we are starting with the P for professor, and you are sending me an email. So you'll find some instructions about that for the PAR 1 assignment. So that is just an email to me. I will be emailing back out advisor information. I will be tackling that. I may get started with it tomorrow. If not, then I will get it knocked out in the beginning of the week. Some of you have been awesome and sent the emails out earlier in the week, again, going through that exercise of budgeting your time. But it is easier to kind of grade and respond to them all in one group. So keep an eye out for in your email for updates and responses to those PAR 1 emails. So again, at this point, you should be well into your textbook, hopefully really exploring D2L. Keep in mind you have Microsoft Office 365 available as a reference to you for your assignments. But please let me know what questions you have. I do monitor my email, of course, over the weekend, knowing that students do frequently have questions, especially if that's when you're doing the bulk of your work over the weekend. But you got to give me a little bit of time to be able to respond to you. So same thing, if you're, sitting down very late Sunday night to work on homework, I may not be available at that point, depending on when you're getting started. So give me a little bit of time to be able to respond, build that response time in. But I am happy to help however I can. And, if it means, going into a Monday, then that's fine, as long as we don't take advantage of that. So, let me know what questions you may have. Keep exploring D2L, getting comfortable with that. If this is your first semester, College 105 is a really great exercise and just kind of learning how D2L works and how things will be organized in your other classes. And if you have anything, super extenuating, I don't think that anybody had anything super extreme going on in terms of the weather. But if you are still experiencing any issues, then please let me know as soon as you can so that I can certainly keep that in mind. But otherwise, we will buckle down, finish up week 2, and we will keep on keeping on from there. Have a good rest of your weekend.